Hello everyone, I'm going to do a quick trade recap on the Aussie yen. We'll start here on the 4-hour chart, which this is where I did most of my analysis. We have an interesting level here that I was looking at, and it was essentially kind of like that, roughly drawn. You can see that we had you know, 3 taps here before impulsive move broke it, and then retesting, and then another impulsive move down. When we came back up here, we didn't even really pause at this level here. Usually when we get such an imbalance in price that we get explosive impulsive moves away from, the next time those levels are tested, there's usually some type of reaction. At least, what I've seen. Here's an example here. The first time, it may not be much of a reaction. In this case, the first initial test of this level, we got a nice spike up to it, and then, sellers stepped in. But that really didn't happen here. I mean, very little wicks on top, and very little, if any, wicks on the bottom of the candles. I mean, there's one little pin bar candle here that's, like, I don't know, 20 pips wide, from high to low, right in the middle of that little zone I have marked off. But really, that I would have expected some larger reaction off of this. But it didn't. It just kind of more or less blew through it. And you look at a daily candle, I'm sure it just, well, let's look at a daily candle. I'm sure it just kind of blows through that little zone there, depending on how you have it marked. And we can actually draw that supply zone like this with that level there. So back to the 240. Yeah, no real reaction there. Just pretty much bullish move right up through it. So I was pretty confident in that level kind of holding with retests. So we got a couple of retests before a push up to some higher levels back here. Another little supply zone that initiated this impulsive move. But once we came back down, we were just getting wicks on bottom. And actually, when I first came to this chart and started looking at it, this candle, I believe maybe, these two candles had already printed. It was somewhere around, somewhere around here. I don't remember exactly when I first stumbled upon this chart, but yeah, I was looking for a long position because especially after this candle here, we just peaked our head just below the low, the initial retest of this level here. I don't know if that was just kind of like a stop hunt for people who had gone long at this level and just placed their stop just, at the low of this or what. I don't know. But that was my candle, kind of that I was looking at. And I usually don't wait for any kind of confirmation, but I got to this late. I probably would have entered on this, this level, first retest of it. But let me mark it up here for you so you can see what else I was seeing. I had this little trend line drawn here, which had nice kind of buyers stepping in off of it initially. Did kind of trade underneath it for, maybe a candle or two depending on the time frame. But yeah. The second one I drew was like this here, like that. So, this is my starting point there. That's my my second point I'm connecting. And if you go down to a lower time frame, you can kind of get get it a little bit tighter. But that's the rough trend line I had drawn. I wasn't a super huge fan of it initially because it sliced through all this little price action here. But the fact that we didn't really get any bearish candles off of this or below this, you know, I felt that this was kind of an appropriate trend line to leave on. So yeah, we have that intersecting point right there. And I took a few positions, not maybe 4 or 5, various positions, kind of right down around in here. My hard stop was, ironically, after I told you, this candle may have stopped people out who placed their stop. My stop was literally right below this candle. It was 65 is what it was. The fact that we got these candle spikes down there, if price started inching its way down here, I felt like it would just continue down, at least probably to the little impulsive low here that broke through this level. And I didn't want to put that much risk on. Across my, I think it was 7 various positions that I entered on here. I had risked about 2%, so they were smaller position sizes. It's a new kind of way that I'm testing out. I'm always trying to test new little things out, but I don't trade the main way, or I don't change the main way I trade. That always stays the same. And you can see that in all my little videos. But I do play around with money management and various risk percentage levels depending on how consistent I am, or my winning percentage on average, to try and get the best bang for my buck overall. So I'll risk up to 5% per trade if it's a trade that I just have very high confidence in. The fact that this may be one of maybe 2 or 3 separate trades on Aussie yen that I've taken this year. I typically stay with pound yen or Aussie dollar for my Aussie or JPY pairs. And I don't know, I've just kind of always traded those, but yeah, so I only risk 2% overall across those 7 so being in 7 positions, if my stop loss would have gotten hit, I would have been down 2%. That's it. So some people are like, well, why are you adding to a losing trade if, I don't consider it a losing trade unless it traded below my stop loss. If I was still buying when it was trading way down here, that's adding to a losing trade, in my opinion. But it's not over until I get stopped out. So if I have confident levels that I'm confident in, then I'll enter on them. And there were several ones kind of in and around here based off of a few different little structure levels. I had this was actually my final entry, and this is the position that I still have on. It was 84.3, I believe, was that initial entry. So that blue line is my initial entry, or not my initial entry, my final entry before I had reached my 2% limit. So I'm not entirely sure where a couple other ones were. The few other ones, they were in here around some lower time frame fibs and structure and little minor trend lines and stuff like that on the 1 hour chart. I don't really go any lower than the 1 hour chart. Very rarely will I go lower. I really thought I was going to get stopped out on this trade, but I literally came within, I think, like 7 or 8 pips, you know, and probably even closer than that with the spread. Owanda, I don't know if I mentioned, but this is my first week trading Owanda as a broker, and their spreads are a lot wider than I'm used to. I mean, GJ, that that thing has like a 3 pip spread, and I'm used to, like, you know, 1 or 2 pips max. But anyways, that's kind of getting off topic. Uh, Targets. Where was I looking at to take this? Obviously, you know, to the moon is where I'm hoping, but I'm not sure. It's at some pretty major resistance and structure levels if you look on the higher time frames. But it's all risk-free for me now. But I had this level marked, and that's where I took all my positions off except one. And the reason was I didn't know if this was going to be a range with kind of this little anomaly being a false breakout or something. You know, we had one, you know, our initial little high, and then second one, and then maybe a false breakout, and then a third, and then so it could have, you know, could have very easily just ranged in here, and I didn't want it coming all the way back. So I took, you know, I took all my profits off except for one, this position here. That's still trailing. I have that trailed, kind of just trailing it based off of structure. Once we broke up above this and kind of confirmed that it wasn't necessarily a box range like I was potentially, like I potentially saw. You know, this is what I'm talking about, by the way. I trailed it up a little bit. I think it's just kind of around here, you know, so I banged a little over 2% on this. I don't know if I have that here or not. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to play with the settings or custom analysis to find all my AJ things. But anyways, so this was the trade. This was a nice little trade overall. I took, you know, more drawdown on the positions, you know, up here than I would have liked. You know, I had a couple over 86 initially, so that was, you know, so at some point, you know, 30 pips of drawdown, somewhere around there. But like I said, you know, I had my hard stop here, and that was 2%. At the end of the day, it would have been less than 2% had I not entered one final time here, but that was my last confluence spot that I saw based off of lower time frames and whatnot. So this was a nice little trade. We'll see where it goes. I'm in a couple other trades that I'm holding over the weekend, but we'll see. Those are just kind of barely in profit now. One is GJ on this. I'm still long GJ on my other trading account from 140.57.6, I believe. But I can really kind of, I'm thinking about closing that because, yeah, I can see some pretty hefty down movement on GJ. We're at some really interesting levels that I have marked up, and maybe I'll do an analysis video on that, but we'll see. Go check out that other video that I did. It's like a 3-part series. It's almost an hour long. It's ridiculous. I went way too long and in depth with it. I go through each of my positions and entries and where I trailed and exited, partial profits and whatnot, and how I'm trailing it now. Take care.